Hey there, Dave from Design and Refine, and today we're going to tackle a subject that some people question. How do I take care of my cutting board? What should I do, right? So I go to the store and I find one, or I go to our store, designrefinewoodwork.etsy.com, and I buy one. Well, they look great when they get to the house and when you first buy them, but how do I keep them looking like that? So let's start with what not to do first, okay? So the first thing we don't want to do is we don't want to soak it in water, okay? So when we soak it in water, wood is absorbent. It's a natural product. It's going to soak in that water. That's going to lead to all sorts of problems. That's going to lead to warping, possibly cupping. It's not going to do good for your cutting board whatsoever. The second thing that always makes me cringe when I hear people talk about it is, well, I put my cutting board in the dishwasher and, well, what do you expect when you put it in a high humidity environment with all that water and heat? They're going to buckle, they're going to break, they're going to crack. So we definitely don't want to soak our cutting board in water, and we definitely don't want to put it in the dishwasher. They are just not made to handle that. So those are absolutely no-nos that we're going to do, okay? So how do I care for it? What should I do? Well, the thing that I would say is you want to keep your board oiled regularly. And by that, I mean a good quality mineral oil. So you can pick them up at the home stores. We pick them up, we're at our local place. But you want something that's food safe. I've had people say, well, what about using olive oil? No, you don't want to use olive oil. What about vegetable oil? No, those can go rancid. So you want a mineral oil that is food safe to use for your board. And so what does that do? Well, I got a surprise for you today. So today, we've actually got one of our cutting boards fresh off the shop, right? So we have it all sanded down and ready to go. But I'm going to let you see the magic happen. So what I've got is I've got some mineral oil here. And so I'm going to dip a rag in that. And I'm going to let you see it come to life, right? So I usually hit my edges first and get that mineral oil in there so it'll start to soak in. So we go through this process. You want to make sure you're liberal with this because that wood is just eager to absorb all of that right now, right? Because since that tree's been cut, it's effectively been dying. And so it's been drying out, and obviously we want good dry wood to make our products out of. But what does it start to look like? Well, as you can see, we start putting that oil on that board. Wow. You really see the color and the grain just start to come to life, right? And so that wood is just going to absorb all of this oil. And that's what's going to help your cutting board, stay in tip-top shape, is by taking that oil and keeping that board all oiled up in that process. So that will help it to be able to withstand your knives, withstand your serving, things like that in that process. So what I like to do is give a good liberal coat on these boards, both sides. We'll not do both sides today, but we'll do that. And then what I like to do, I like to let them sit. At least let them sit overnight, right? Let that oil kind of soak into the wood. And I want to do this pretty often, probably maybe once a week if I use my board quite a bit. So what else can I do to help preserve that? Well, something else you can do is you can get a food safe wax. And here's a board that we have that has been oiled many times in this process. We can get a food safe wax and actually work that wax in. And you can see it'll start to give that board a little bit of a shine, right? So by working that wax in, if you fill any of those pores in the wood, and being a food safe wax, just gives a nice sheen to the board, right? So I like to go in circular motions, that way I can work it down into the grain of the wood. And both of these boards we're looking at today are end grain boards. So we're actually looking at, as the tree would be growing, it would be growing this away, right? From that standpoint, actually, I'm sorry, this away from that standpoint. So I like to put wax on there, and then I like to buff it out. I like to let it sit for just a little bit, and then buff it out. But you can already start to see the difference that makes from one side to the other, right? So those are the things that I say to work on to keep your board in good shape, right? So from a dry board, you can see where the finish is starting to, or the oil is coming down from that. Makes a nice looking board, right? So, all right, Dave, we've oiled our boards, we've waxed our boards. What should we do? How do we take care of them? Just simple soap and water, just a washcloth, wash it down, and then pat it dry, right? I don't want to let it sit in water or anything like that. But just something to keep it rinsed, clean, ready for the next time. It's really all you got to do. Now, you know, after months of wear, you might want to take a little bit of sandpaper to it and smooth one out, especially if you have an edge grain board, right? We talked about in a prior video, fibers are going this way. If you're nice cutting across, the grain's going to raise a little bit. So you might want to sand one of those every now and then. For the most part, these end grain boards take care of themselves from that. But keep a nice finish on it, and the boards will last you for years and years. So that's what we do here at Design and Refine Woodworks. That's how we take care of our boards, and that's how we get them to you. And you know, we hope they give you years and years of longevity, and we hope you enjoy those boards. So if you want to pick one up for yourself, check out the shop. You know, Design Refine Woodwork.etsy.com. You can check us out. It's right here if you missed that. But we got these boards. We got other boards for you to choose from. Again, a board is only a board unless you take care of it and get good use out of it. So we hope you do. We hope you get a board and it lasts you for a long, long time. So appreciate it. We'll catch you next time.